life isn't random. Every storm, every betrayal, every heartbreak carries a blueprint, a deeper meaning far beyond the surface. And if you're listening to this, I want you to hear me clearly: you were not broken by accident. You were chosen by God to walk through fire, not to be consumed, but to be refined. You see, facing a narcissistic abuse recovery journey is not about weakness. It's about strength, a strength you didn't know you had until life demanded it. Because when you stand in front of a narcissist, someone who manipulates, deceives, and distorts reality, you're not just facing a person. You're facing a living mirror of emotional warfare. And God allowed it. Not to punish you, but to forge you. To awaken the parts of you that could only be born in fire: your discernment, your emotional regulation skills, your spiritual armor. If you've ever asked, why me? Stay with me until the end, because today, we're going to unlock the bigger picture. We'll dive deep into why spiritual battles often disguise themselves as toxic relationships, how Christian trauma healing reframes your entire experience, and why your story isn't just about surviving, it's about being an example of victory. Comment chosen below if you already feel something stirring inside, because trust me, the fact that you're even here, still standing, is proof you were chosen for more. And at the end of this video, I'll guide you through a simple but powerful reflection exercise, one that started my own journey toward true freedom. Stick around, you won't want to miss it. It's easy to think that suffering means something went wrong. That if you're hurting, if you're stuck in cycles of betrayal, manipulation, and loss, maybe God turned away. But what if I told you pain is often the classroom where God teaches his deepest lessons? You see, when you're entangled with someone exhibiting narcissistic personality disorder traits, you're not just enduring random cruelty. You're being shown, in brutal, undeniable clarity, the importance of spiritual discernment, emotional self-regulation, and the art of setting biblical boundaries. Without pain, most people would never question their assumptions. They'd never learn to say no. They'd never realize that spiritual warfare in relationships is real. Emotional trauma recovery isn't about getting over it. It's about becoming someone who sees the unseen, someone who can no longer be manipulated by pretty words and false promises. If any part of you feels like this battle is bigger than just bad luck, you're right. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. Preparation for a higher calling, a future where your faith-based trauma recovery equips you to walk into rooms with unshakable clarity and peace. Drop a shield emoji in the comments if you're ready to start seeing your battle scars as your armor, not your shame. Stay with me. In the next part, I'm going to reveal the one mindset shift that can transform your entire healing journey, even if you still feel broken right now. If you're still breathing, still searching, still hoping, even after everything you've endured, then let me tell you something powerful. You are not just a survivor. You are a vessel. A vessel being prepared by God, through fire, to carry wisdom others desperately need. See, when you go through toxic relationship recovery, it's not just about healing your broken heart. It's about upgrading your entire spirit. God isn't just saving you from the narcissist. He's strengthening you for the people you'll one day help rescue. When you start seeing yourself not as a victim, but as someone being refined for spiritual leadership, everything changes. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what is this building inside me? Every manipulation you survived, every gaslighting moment you endured, every betrayal you overcame. Those weren't just wounds. They were forging a deeper discernment, preparing you to recognize signs of emotional abuse in others long before they entrap you again. This is the moment to flip the script. You are not being buried. You are being planted. And in time, your healing will bloom into a fierce, undeniable strength that no narcissist, no manipulator, no deceiver, can ever touch again. Comment rooted below if you're starting to feel that shift inside you, that quiet but unshakable sense that you were born for more than survival. Keep listening, because coming up next, I'll break down the 3 hidden blessings that God often buries inside seasons of emotional devastation, and why most people miss them. You won't want to miss this. When life feels shattered, when relationships collapse, when trust is betrayed, it's natural to ask, God, where are you in all of this? But what if I told you? Sometimes, the greatest blessings God has for you aren't wrapped in comfort. They're hidden in broken places. And unless something breaks, you might never uncover them. If you've walked through narcissistic abuse recovery, you know the kind of pain that feels like it rewrites your DNA. Like it reaches into the deepest parts of who you are, and rips them apart. But here's what most people don't realize. Pain exposes what is fragile. Pain reveals what was built on sand instead of rock. God didn't let that narcissistic relationship happen because He wanted to destroy you. He allowed it because He wanted to reveal something stronger inside you, something that could never be accessed while you were clinging to illusions of safety, validation, or approval. Sometimes, losing what you thought you needed is the only way to discover what you actually have. And that includes discovering the spiritual awakening signs you didn't even know were blooming inside your soul. Maybe this season was never about fixing them. Maybe it was always about emotional trauma recovery, not just surviving pain, but transforming through it. Emerging not bitter, but better. Not wounded, but wise. Not afraid, but fiercely, unapologetically free. Let me ask you something. What if the heartbreak wasn't meant to weaken you, but to reroute you into alignment with the life God dreamed for you all along? If that question hits somewhere deep, comment "Shield rerouted by grace" down below. You're not off track. You're being rerouted towards something infinitely better. And stay close, because in the next part, we're going even deeper. I'll share how setting divine boundaries not only protects your healing, but positions you for the relationships you actually deserve. Trust me. You don't want to miss this next part. It might just change everything. When you've survived emotional trauma recovery, you begin to realize something profound. Healing isn't just about mending your heart. It's about learning to protect it. And that's where divine boundaries come in. Not walls built out of fear, but sacred spaces built out of self-respect, wisdom, and deep, unwavering clarity. See, narcissistic relationships don't just wound you. They condition you to think that setting limits is selfish. That saying no is cruel. That protecting yourself somehow makes you the bad one. But let's be clear. Healthy boundaries aren't an act of rebellion. They're an act of reverence toward the life God entrusted to you. Scripture reminds us. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4 verse 23. Guarding your heart isn't selfish. It's sacred. And here's what the narcissist never expected. The version of you who would finally stop explaining yourself. Who would no longer argue about your worth. Who would set a boundary and stand behind it without guilt or apology. Imagine this. You feel the old pattern trying to pull you back. The guilt, the shame, the endless cycle of giving too much and getting too little. But now, instead of reacting, you recognize it. You name it. You refuse it. You don't engage with gaslighting anymore. You don't fall into trauma bonding anymore. Because now, you have self-worth therapy techniques that anchor you. You have clarity. And clarity? Clarity is lethal to manipulation. Let me ask you. What's one boundary you wish you had set earlier, one moment you now recognize was calling for you to say no more? Comment "Shield no more" down below if that memory flashes through your mind right now. Because naming it is the first step to reclaiming it. And stay close. Because up next, we're going to break down the spiritual warfare prayers that strengthen you when you're still healing. When you're still tempted to doubt your worth. When you're still fighting battles invisible to everyone else. Trust me, what's coming could be the armor you didn't know you needed. Let's keep going. Your freedom is closer than you think. There's a battle you're fighting that most people around you can't even see. Not a battle of fists. Not a battle of words. But a battle for your spirit, your clarity, your calling. And if you've ever escaped toxic relationship patterns, You know this battle isn't over the moment you walk away. It lingers. In your memories. In your self-talk. In your private fears about ever trusting again. That's why true healing requires more than psychology. It demands spiritual warfare prayers. Because some wounds aren't just emotional. They're spiritual. You were never just fighting a narcissist. You were fighting a distortion of truth itself. And truth, my friend, is sacred. Here's what spiritual warfare looks like when you've been through emotional trauma recovery. It's waking up and choosing peace, even when anxiety claws at your chest. It's rebuking shame when the enemy whispers, "You should have seen it coming." It's refusing the bait of anger and choosing forgiveness. Not to excuse them, but to set yourself free. Tell me, have you ever felt that invisible pull? That force that tries to drag you back into old patterns. Even after you knew better? If you have, comment "Shield Battle Ready" below. Because naming the battle is the first step to winning it. And here's the prayer I wish someone had handed me earlier. Simple. Fierce. Unshakable. Lord, guard my mind against deception. My heart against despair. And my future against sabotage. I walk in your truth. Not their lies. That's spiritual warfare. It's not about fighting harder. It's about standing firmer. When you choose boundaries, you're engaging in self-worth therapy techniques. When you speak the truth, you're waging emotional resilience strategies. And when you trust God's timing over your own anger, you're stepping fully into toxic relationship recovery. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the silent superpower that finishes what no argument ever could. The final shift that dismantles the narcissist's control forever. And no, it's not revenge. It's something infinitely more powerful. Stay close. You're almost at the breakthrough you didn't even know you were seeking. There's a power greater than any confrontation. Greater than any proof, argument, or exposure. It's not shouting. It's not even explaining. It's this, silent detachment. When you stop feeding a narcissist with attention, positive or negative. When you stop defending, stop explaining, stop hoping they'll understand. You dismantle their entire control system without ever lifting a finger. You see, narcissistic abuse recovery isn't about winning a battle. It's about exiting the game completely. It's about recognizing that your healing isn't dependent on their apology, their regret, or even their understanding. Your healing is yours. Let's pause here. Have you ever realized, in one crystal clear moment, that your energy was being drained? And then decided to just stop? Comment "silent power" if you've ever tasted that liberation. Even for a second. Because that's where your true self begins to re-emerge. Emotional resilience strategies teach us. The less you engage with toxicity, the faster your nervous system can repair itself. The faster you return to your real baseline. Peace, not chaos. You were not created to live on emotional high alert. You were created for clarity, alignment, and purpose. That's why the greatest act of strength now is choosing peace over drama, clarity over chaos, growth over the endless trap of fixing broken people. When you lean into spiritual healing practices, whether it's prayer, breath work, journaling, or silent retreats, you're not escaping reality. You're fortifying yourself to live in truth. You stop chasing validation. You stop seeking revenge. You stop waiting for closure. Because you realize you are the closure. You are the ending they never saw coming. The one where you walk away and never look back. In the final segment, we'll seal this journey. I'm going to share the one mindset shift that ensures you don't just escape. You ascend. And trust me, you won't want to miss this. It's the difference between surviving and transcending. Stay here. You're closer than ever to becoming untouchable. Here's the shift that changes everything. You were never meant to survive this to stay the same. You were meant to become. When you survive narcissistic emotional abuse. When you rebuild your life from the ashes of betrayal and distortion. You don't just heal. You evolve into something stronger, sharper, deeper. Spiritual trauma recovery teaches this. Pain isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're awake. That you refuse to numb out. That you still believe in something real, even when reality tried to break you. The mistake many survivors make is thinking, if I heal, I'll go back to who I used to be. But you won't. Because you're not supposed to. The old you tolerated too much. The old you explained too much. The old you believed that love meant sacrifice without limits. The new you knows better. The new you sets boundaries. The new you chooses emotional sobriety. The new you values energy protection as much as empathy. And that is the victory. Pause here. If you feel, even just a flicker, that you're becoming someone stronger. Someone clearer. Someone who doesn't beg to be understood anymore. Comment becoming below. Because recognizing your transformation is part of claiming it. When you understand what gaslighting does to the brain, you see how surviving it is nothing short of miraculous. You didn't just heal wounds. You reprogrammed your nervous system. You reclaimed your mind. That's why online therapy for trauma survivors isn't a luxury. It's a lifeline. You're not broken. You're being reforged. You're learning emotional self-defense. You're learning radical self-respect. You're learning how to live with clarity. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. And here's the ultimate truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the ways you outgrew their chaos. You don't owe anyone a defense of your healing. You are allowed to simply rise. Quietly. Unapologetically. Completely. If you're ready for the next step. In a moment, I'll share where to find real tools. Not just affirmations. But real frameworks for deep emotional resilience. Because survival is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your real life. Stay with me. We're not done yet. If you made it here, it's not by accident. You're part of the few who didn't just survive. You stayed awake through it. And now the question is simple. What will you choose to build from here? Healing from narcissistic emotional abuse isn't about winning the past. It's about reclaiming the future. It's about stepping into a life where peace isn't something you chase. It's something you protect. If you're ready to deepen your clarity, to protect your energy, and to rebuild your emotional resilience on your own terms, take the next step, quietly but powerfully. You can start with a free emotional regulation checklist I've linked below. It's simple. But it's the small consistent shifts that change everything. Or maybe you're ready for something deeper. Like personalized support through online therapy for trauma survivors. There's no shame in needing a map when you've been navigating a battlefield. Wherever you are, honor it. Healing isn't linear. Growth isn't glamorous. Becoming who you were meant to be isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about choosing yourself over and over again. Until the choice feels like breathing. If this video resonated with something deep inside you, comment ready below. Not for me. For you. So when doubt comes back, and it will, you'll have your own echo reminding you. You saw it. You named it. You chose differently. The next chapter is yours. And if you need a quiet hand to hold while you build it, I'll be right here.